All right, let's finish up our agenda here. It's Tuesday. Aaron Rodgers spoke today. Jacob's back from West Virginia, sitting in. Did you see this comment? This is maybe one of the best comments we've had today. Jacob is dressed like a guy who has central air. 100%. My pal is sitting, clicking on. It's 70 degrees in your house right now. I guarantee it's 70 degrees.
Again, otherwise I would be Frosty the Snowman at the end of the story. I'm just melted, man. There's no.
Have you stepped outside in the last 2 days?
Oh,
besides to drive.
Yes, too much. And again, every single time I'm outside, it's bad.
It's bad.
Go through a lot of t-shirts. Spend a lot of time in the lowest level of the house during these months. So
I'm sitting in the attic right now, 1 AC. We're doing what we can. We're doing what we can. Shout out to Pittsburgh, man. I told myself I'll never complain about the heat because I complain about the snow too much.
Mm-hmm.
All right, it's Tuesday. It's Overreaction Tuesday. Let's get into it.
It's a fine line between, drinking wine and squashing grapes, as we say in this business. And sometimes it's very subtle.
Sometimes it's very subtle. Jacob?
Sometimes.
I'm going to toss it your way. I'm excited for him. What do you got?
Here is my one Aaron Rodgers take for this week. And then I will respect the man's wishes, wink. This will not be Aaron Rodgers' final season in the National Football League. Overreaction or not?
Oh, I think it's a bit of an overreaction. You got to listen to him. Chances are it's the end of it. I think Aaron Rodgers is getting to a point where he not only, and I think it's an overreaction for two reasons. One, I think Aaron Rodgers is starting to realize where he is in his NFL career and how difficult things are becoming and how he doesn't want to show up to minicamp and OTAs, but everybody's going to talk about how Aaron Rodgers needs to show up and isn't showing up to OTAs and minicamp for the rest of his career. Every single year from here on out, he will have those headlines if he continues to play. Two, who's calling next season? If Aaron's great, awesome. But you want to know where he's going to play in 2026? Pittsburgh. He's not going to go anywhere else. If Aaron's not great, if Aaron's decent, if Aaron looks like an average quarterback, if Aaron looks like a guy who, you won 10 games, but you threw 25 touchdowns and 12 interceptions, there's not going to be teams that call. He's going to be at the end of the road. And I think because of that, we listen to him. I think he understands the situation. It might be walking the line, but I'm going to trust him on this one. Aaron Rodgers has not lied about anything. Maybe his marriage, but to be honest with you, I hope that Aaron Rodgers just got married in the woods with like 4 people, his dog being one of them. And that just fits the mold. Like, I love it. We should stop worrying about if it's real. The guy says it's real. It's good enough. I'm going to trust him. I'm going to say this one, we're going to start with a walk in the line, but an overreaction.
Fine. Fair enough. I will respect it. And I will reserve my skepticism, and I will not go back on my word, and I'll move on to something totally different. A target of Aaron Rodgers.
Yes.
And that is, we talked about the tight ends briefly, and I mentioned it a little bit, but if I were to say, or if I were to find out that the over-under on touchdowns this year for one Pat Freiermuth was 10.5,
okay,
I would be inclined to take the over.
Yeah.
Everything goes right. We're riding the high of optimism. 11 touchdowns, 11 to 15 would not be crazy for Pat Freiermuth to put up once he excels and becomes a focal point in the Steelers offense with Aaron Rodgers under center.
I'm going to let everybody know now. This is a public service announcement. This is a warning to anybody who hates to hear it, which if you are cruel humans, I have one more year, this one and next, to overhype Pat Freiermuth as much as I possibly can, because after next year, I will give up. I will give up on the belief that Pat is an elite talent. But right now, I'm going to say Pat's had 1 year with Ben Roethlisberger, and then name the quarterbacks and where they are now that he's played with. And we can run through them. You want to run through them real fast? One of them's on the bench in Pittsburgh. The other one's on the bench in Buffalo. The third one is potentially getting traded from the Cleveland Browns after getting traded from the Pittsburgh Steelers after getting traded from the Philadelphia Eagles. One of them's already expected to get benched for a rookie in New York, and the other one is in New York. The Pittsburgh Steelers wanted him, but now reports are saying maybe they didn't. Who knows? He's had 0 quarterbacks outside of Ben that I could say gave him an opportunity. Maybe Aaron is the guy. If he is, awesome. If not, the next quarterback next year in the draft, I will try to believe can give him an opportunity. If that doesn't happen, I'm done with Pat. It's over. I tried. I like him a lot. He's a good dude. I'm just going to have to admit that he's not good. That's what I would have to do. I'm going to say Pat's going over. I'm going to say that's not an overreaction. I think 10 touchdowns is a move for Pat Freiermuth and one you could bank on because Aaron Rodgers is going to really like this guy. And right now, wide receiver 2 is Calvin Austin. And I like Calvin Austin, but he's not catching 10 touchdowns this season. Pat might. I'm going Pat. I'm saying that's not an overreaction. Again, 2 seasons left, and I'm going to overhype the hell out of him.
Wow, this is officially a Pat Freiermuth podcast. Incredible stuff. Okay, wow. I thought that was like kind of crazy. But you consistently show me week after week that my barometer is like a recently fired weatherman's. It's just not on the pulse at all. So let's move to the defensive side of the ball. We talked about slot corner. We've talked about Jalen Ramsey. I want to try to be more realistic of people who are going to get in the ballpark. I think there's someone that I think our colleague Jack wrote about this recently. But I think there is a cornerback that the Steelers probably have already identified and most likely want to fill the starting slot cornerback position. It might just be a timing issue. And I think it's going to be a reminiscent move of something we've seen before. And I think we're going to see a reunion with Mike Hilton as the slot cornerback in Pittsburgh. Overreaction or not?
I don't think that's an overreaction either. I'm staying on the board of I think the Pittsburgh Steelers are very aware that they're cool with giving Beanie Bishop an opportunity. They're cool seeing what he's got. They're cool with seeing what Dante Kent's got. But they also fully understand that if this entire team looks really good and one position looks really bad, they're going to try to fill that one position. They're going to go out and they're going to do what needs to be done to get a corner. And maybe that's not Jalen Ramsey. Maybe that's not a big splashy move. Maybe that's a guy that they know and are well aware that is still a reliable starter in the NFL because they've played him twice a season since he's left. And I think Mike Hilton tops that list. Just like Cam Sutton made too much sense last season, Mike Hilton makes too much sense if they need it this season. Again, I think they want to give Beanie like some sort of opportunity, but I do think that it's not going to be much of an opportunity. It's not going to be hey, you have the whole training camp. You might have 2 days of training camp before the Steelers go, all right, we didn't see it. Somebody call Mike, get him on the phone right now. I could see that happening. The fact that they've called the Dolphins means that there's some interest there. Their hand has been shown. In the cornerback market, the hand has been shown. I'm going not an overreaction. Honestly, if I had to predict, Beanie Bishop is not the starting slot corner in 2025. That's my prediction.
I think that's, dude, that my next one was if Mike Hilton does not become a member of the Steelers, there's no other move. Let's live in that scenario right now. As the roster currently looks is how the secondary competition will look once everyone's up at St. Vincent's.
Yes.
Maybe this is not an overreaction at all because you maybe hinted at it accidentally. I think it would take 1 day for Dante Kent to become the starting slot cornerback in training camp. I think Beanie Bishop, and I don't think it's crazy when I say that Beanie Bishop is on the thinnest of ice when it comes to players holding on to a position in training camp. So
I agree.
1 day, I think he'd show up, get the benefit of the doubt, and the Steelers, as Omar Khan loves Dante Kent, as we heard in the Standard, he assumes the starting roles immediately.
Okay, so I think that's an overreaction. I don't think that he gets the starting role immediately, but I agree with you that I think of all positions, Beanie Bishop is the guy who, and I don't predict this, but I think that he is the closest person to go from starter to cut this summer. I think that if he doesn't show up and look great, there's no excuse to keep him. You know what I mean? Like potential last year, that was the argument. This year, I don't think it's as strong. So I agree with that. I think it's an overreaction that Dante Kent would be the guy because I don't think they'd put a 7th round pick out there either. I think they learned last year. Like the only reason Beanie started last year is because Cam was suspended. That was it. This year, it won't be Dante Kent. They won't put a 7th round pick out there and say, you've done it, unless he shows up and becomes Mike Hilton. I don't think you could do that in a year or in a day, excuse me. I would say overreaction, but I agree with you. I think Beanie is the and that stinks because I like Beanie and I think he does have potential, but I do think that if he doesn't show up, he's the only one of all the starters that I think could go from starter to cut by the end of August.
Wow. Yeah. I think there is no denying that Beanie, our friend, is in for a very real competition just for a job once training camp opens. I have a couple more here. Where are we at on? We have a bunch
on
of
time. We do have one in the comment here that I'll get to and toss your way. Ed D. Overreaction. Aaron Rodgers does great and leads the Steelers to a playoff win and possibly further, and he becomes a Pittsburgh favorite and announces our new 1st round pick in a quarterback in the Pittsburgh NFL draft. A lot going on in this overreaction. Overreaction or not?
This I'm going to say strictly for the bit, this is not an overreaction because it seems like, based off of his interview on the Pat McAfee show today, Aaron Rodgers has perhaps replaced Mr. Rodgers as the preeminent person with the last name Rodgers in the city. So because of that, he leads a renaissance of Steelers football, Super Bowl, and then, like Odysseus returning home, passes on the torch to the next 1st round quarterback in the draft in Pittsburgh next year. So yeah, it'll just be a whole heroic circle journey for him. So, be great.
I do you see the shirts in the strip that are Mr. Rodgers, but they're Aaron's face, and they're creepy because they don't look like Aaron Rodgers. They look like a morphed figure of Aaron Rodgers. It's a weird time. All right, shout out to everybody with the Overreaction Tuesdays. That's everything on our agenda.